When to be a momentum trader, we are looking at that in the context of the 30-30 list. This 30 list is the top 30 momentum companies on the ASX over the last quarter. And then we look at the launchpad, where we would like to see the momentum leaders come from, because that's where all the momentum leaders show up before they shoot the lights out. Gary Glover has been through both lists. He gets a list on a Thursday afternoon at the same time that members do. Walks through the list, finds the best trading opportunities, the ones where we can learn lessons from, setups and the like. And then we also get requests from members. There are a lot of requests this week, a lot indeed in the momentum list. Plus, we want to cover that question that we got earlier, which was when to be the momentum trader. So there's a lot for Gary to cover, and we say good morning, Gary Glover from Novus Capital. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Chris.
So this week, we've got Thanksgiving in the US, lighter trading volumes, but the momentum companies, we're still getting a fair few that are just popping and running. So what's catching your eye in the momentum top 30 list this week?
Not too much, really. Yeah. I thought it was sort of a bit scarcer pickings there, really, going sort of through both lists there. So, but yeah, still a few in there. Few EPs there, actually. A few of the episodic pivots or game changers or whatever you call them. So a few are sort of still gapping up on good news and running. So still seeing a couple of those. But yeah, number one on the momentum list I thought was interesting there. Not so much because it sort of had a big move there, but because after the big move here, we've had sort of 3 down days there, Chris, and we haven't seen any selling. So things sort of run up here pretty quickly. I know it's only a small name there, gone from like 4 or 5 cents up to 22 cents there, but here's our first day down, not too much volume. Second day down, less volume. Third day down, even less there. So like normally you sort of see a move like that. That's gone up, 4 times there, yet hasn't drawn any sellers. So that's pretty interesting. So that's, sort of some looking quite good there. So that's that sort of, does suggest I would have a closer look at that, what's going on there.
Well, as you mentioned that, I noted yesterday afternoon and sent this out to the members saying that CAY had a similar sort of thing where it had the run up and then in the pullbacks, there was barely any volume throughout October. And then that broke out again at the high type flag, CAY, which is also in the top 10. Yeah. So it's a good setup if you can, like you said, you can see that volume drop when the share price drops.
Yeah, when they sort of jump up here, I was a bit hesitant there, but what you're looking for is for them to either, is to sort of square off or use up a bit of time there. So I know McLaren would say, you either want to see a correction in price or a correction in time, but seeing the low volume is really, that's what ideally you want to see on any pullback. So, to me that you want to see that fierce, strong volume on the rally, Impulsive, so move up, really freely, and then it pulled back here and hold the range there. So you kind of want to, I was just saying to you earlier how sort of like, really sort of directing my trading now, just staying in the top half. So like a lot of, and as traders there, I think over time, then I still do this now, is that if I see like a good setup technically, I think, that's a good, when I see this happen, run up here and do this, that's a good setup. That's a setup I should keep looking for. If you see something like that, actually write it down. I know a good trader years ago told me to write it down, because he said that maybe one day in my program for you, but at the very least, write down your good trading idea and break it down. So what you ideally want to sort of see, and then you can create a list there. So I know sort of I've got my playbook of 4 trades now, and like 2 of those trades don't happen very often. So really my playbook is really around maybe 1 or 2. But there's another trade that I've just set up in the last couple of weeks. I've seen it fits into one of my trades, but I could classify it a lot tighter.
So it's like a subset of one of your 4.
Yeah,
real specific setup within it.
Fits into my VCP sort of setup there, but I've seen sort of something which is a time based. So actually sort of like it'll go up a certain amount of time and pull back the same amount of time and stay in the top half. Strong volume, light volume, just, similar to what we're sort of looking for there, but can really break that trade down and classify it a little bit a lot more tightly, and label it. And then you're looking for that, sort of quite specifically, sort of, something in particular. And then when you see that, that's, the thing about good trading, Chris, is sometimes the market can be choppy here, and then those trades can sort of squeeze into our parameters. But if you've got a list of, say, A setups, and they all have to, meet 4 or 5 quite strict requirements, when they hit those strict requirements and they hit them on the nose, then that's the time to get a bit heavier. So whereas, sometimes the trades fit into your classifications here, that's a VCP, it just fits in, well, then maybe that's the time you should be not going hard. But if you've got 6 different requirements and meets them all, bang, 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 and it's the sector's strong and it's tight, and the volume's light, and it's showing strength, and if everything just tick, 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 then that's a good A setup there. So that's the trade that you want to, if you listen to, Stanley Druckenmiller as well, and all the pros, they say it's about, waiting for the fat pitch, so as soon as the fat pitch comes, then that's the one we're swinging at hard. So we don't want to be swinging at everything. So that's why I sort of think breaking those trades down into a little bit more detail, classify them a little bit more, that's sort of something I've been working on this last year anyway. But PTR is one to keep an eye on here. Probably one to go and have a look at there, just look at what's going on there. We got, look, I was going to skip this one, but I reckon someone's going to ask a question on it, so I better be right. So, look, this thing's gone a bit hard for me. There's been so much of that, and I doubted the ability to get this far, but we're just seeing what's happened there, Chris. It's run into that, because it lodged its phase 3 like a month ago, and the FDA basically has a month to knock it back or request more information. But the company doesn't hear from them within a month, and they know that they can proceed there. So that's obviously good news to proceed. But so the market got pretty excited the fact that with a couple of days to go,
no news was good news.
No news was good news. Like, this is good, but the reality is that do a phase to get the okay to do a phase 3. People realize what a phase 3 is. It's a big trial. Lots of the patient. Yeah. We're talking
infrastructure.
It's 120 to 200 odd days they're required from each patient there to be ticked off on here. This trial is going to last ages. And there's going to need time, doing a 100, 200, 300 patient phase 3 trial is going to be expensive. So, I'd be careful with this one here. I'd be careful. So,
and to mitigate the to raise money, absolutely. To mitigate the comments below, what we'll probably end up seeing. So you've done a lot of this with broking. Is that a larger farmer? They normally don't get involved in the phase 1, phase 2. They de-risk the process, and then phase 3 they start to get more active. Partly because it de-risks the process for them, but also, just as you mentioned, they need a lot of money to do it, and that's when they start to team up with the big farmer, isn't it? And that's where they can kind of so this can happen.
It is good news to get it to not get knocked back by FDA, because you do see like a lot of these biotechs get knocked back all the time, and so getting to that stage here is actually a pretty decent first step, no doubt about it. So it is a positive, the fact that it hasn't been knocked back. So does and a repurposed drug isn't as it's already an approved drug, so it's not sort of something which is already hasn't been used before. It's just being used for something else. It's a bit like
it's been tested on a body.
Yeah, a bit like for a different stuff there. Sort of, we know there's been used for diabetics, but now we're using them for weight loss. So they'll be easier to get past and stuff there. But still, phase 3 is going to be, a fair process there. If you read through the notes there, they had the days and stuff in there, but they weren't putting the timeline out there because they probably don't want to
stress that one soon.
I would want that this will go long burn rate. This is probably still 12 months away from commerciality at least. So, that's the concern there, that one. So just be careful there. The other biotech which has been moving quite nicely was Imricor. This is the one that I'm sort of had been trading previously there. Unfortunately for me, I sort of let mine go a little while ago. I wasn't expecting it to sort of kick on there, but the weekly is a pretty good setup here. I sort of, I mean, this is a nice little, talk about this little cup and handle there, breaking up here. So that's a good sign. So we know a lot of these companies, that model book there, once they sort of break the 52-week high and the handle there, like that can be the start of a bigger move there. So it's definitely one to sort of keep an eye on there. I had a few clients who bought some around 58 cents. So I did sell out half yesterday, just got a free carry on the rest, and we'll just see what happens here. But it's, she's getting a bit vertical there, getting a bit, maybe a bit exhausted. So I'm hoping this will sort of settle down here and maybe come back and but the weekly setup does look pretty good. So now we just probably want to see a pause. We want to sort of see, I don't know, sort of something tight in here, something like a little bit of a sideways pause for a while. Probably multiple weeks would be nice. But yeah, I think it's definitely one to sort of keep an eye on the radar there. OCC, off the sell. This had that VCP there, Chris, and breakout there. So this is a sort of setup there which this setup here hasn't actually been working that well lately. It's sort of like been finding this setup here has been lingering on and maybe taking longer than just like this is really only like a month and a bit, where I think most of the setups have been dragging out for say 2 to maybe 5 months somewhere. So it is rare to sort of get that turn up here pretty quickly here. So, but it sort of held that low in place there. It was obviously a pretty good sign as well. Just holding that low in place there, starting to build here. So, it looks all right here. It's obviously a bit long here, but the volume's been pretty heavy the last couple of days, so it's not showing signs of any signs of weakness there. So it still looks pretty solid. VC8, I thought was pretty interesting as well. Just one of those things there. It definitely had that little pause there, Chris, and just came back to the 50. So I know we talk about the 50-day moving average. I know sort of like when those really faster names really get vertical, like they usually hug the 10. Like I think TEA is a really good example that you can see that was really aggressive, hugged the 10 until it eventually broke. So and then other stocks you'll sort of see them maybe not going up so fast, might hug the 20. But then if they go through the corrective pattern as well, then you are looking for that, looking for them to come back near the 50 as well. So it's just interesting here. We sort of had this little more than ABC, they're not coming back sort of slightly back here, but it has sort of just touched the 50. And then all of a sudden we saw some volume come in here off the 50 there. So again, some people just look for these pullbacks there. I think it's Charles Harris there, one of the guys at IBD. He sort of his sort of specialty is to trade the stronger stocks and wait for them to pull back to the 20 or the 50 and then try and add them back in again. So he does look for the stronger names, wait for them to come back here. So me personally, I have that little B wave within, that's my little option. If I'm looking at these trades there, I want to see a little swing high broken there. So that's probably, to me, I want to sort of see it break above, that little swing high there at 56 there. So, but you did see some pretty big volume come through here. So, maybe a little cheat in here, or maybe you can, sometimes you can break into the half valley and sort of see, some sort of high get broken there, but that's really the last digit there. It's a bit high there. So prefer to sort of see them tighten up here and break through there, but that looks pretty solid. EML had a episodic pivot during the week, had some pretty good news, gapped up and has continued to run here. So there's a really good episode. There's a really good episodic pivot. Well, there's quite a few episodic pivot videos on YouTube there. I know Pradeep has one, but there's another guy who's done like a classification there where he breaks them up into chickens, ducks, and swans, and he's classified every EP. He's done basically like a Bukowski, studied EPs for quite a few years, breaking them all down, labeled them all, and does the stats on them. It's actually pretty interesting there if you're looking at that sort of trade there. Anyone who's sort of trading these episodic pivots, or for me, I call it a game changer for me. Just when I see news, which is a game changer, sort of something which is pretty significant change for the company. You normally sort of gap up and run there. So that's worth a look there if you're into that sort of trading strategy.
Right, so I know that data, we've spoken about it before, off air, and that sort of data is just amazing, and it gives you so much more confidence when you put your trades on, or you're researching the trade, looking at your risk-reward ratios, what to expect, having that depth behind it really helps confidence.
No, it does. You learn those sort of technical patterns too. Once you sort of get an insight, there's a bit like, not that it's a good example there, but I remember, reading about head and shoulders patterns. And I'm not a big head and shoulders pattern there, but I love the fact that when I was reading Bulkowski was, something around about 45 to 50%. We'd come back for a retest of the neckline. So it's like, oh, that's interesting. So if you missed the head and shoulder pattern,
odds are pretty good. You'll get it up.
50% chance to come the next line, get a second shot at it. That's a really interesting stat to look at. So when you go through those EPs, there's some really interesting stats that he breaks down in there. Like I think one of the interesting ones there around the EPs, Chris, was that that using a 1% stop on the opening from the EP as well. Because not many, I think around 45% of them gap up and go. Not many fail there. Most of them that sort of fail, obviously continue to fail, but I think around about 60% stay with only fade by less than 1% and then keep going. So a 1% stop on the open there, and anything above 14% up on the open, it's just a no as well. So anything if it's gapped up too hard,
let it go.
Yeah. So you ideally sort of want that, 5 to 7 or 8% gap up, and then keeps running.
You've probably got an example or two on screen right here, don't you?
Yeah. So you don't sort of want to see them gap up too hard or something. So it's interesting. Sigmas, look, I thought this was all over personally when I saw that gap up into the sim, having run up all this way here on the news there, but it's pulled back here. It's pretty interesting there because I sort of there was a couple of there was some heavy selling obviously on that day. The next day you still got inside day, I think, so we really had 4 days there. I thought that was pretty heavy sort of selling there, but then it did pull back, but it sort of held, didn't go to a new, didn't break, didn't sort of come down the low there. So
still showing spacing.
Yeah, did show the spacing there, and then it actually sort of this day here, you can see how the volume just dried up there. That was a little bit of a tell there, and that had some volume there. So that's why sort of sometimes you don't lock yourself into, a view of, my view is that was probably the top and exhaustive. That was probably going to come off there, but even though we had some selling there, some pretty heavy selling, it did pull back, but then the selling dried up here. So at this point there, I was even thinking, maybe it rallies up for a few days, makes a lower high. But this has gone to a new high because we're, such a strong mark. So these names are just staying so firm here. So there's really some momentum there behind that. So that's pretty interesting. So Cat is the other one there that stayed pretty strong as well. I mean, gee, this, we've had this was in the model book. This has been strong all year. All the correction, all the pullbacks have been, this is the thing here. Look, you can see here, every pullback has been very, very mild. It's been, it's been mild in nature. So, McLaren, it just, should really sort of cover this at some point there, but just understanding the difference between impulsive, like moving easily higher, and then going sideways and moving sideways, like an impulsive and corrected trends, just those two classifications there. It's so important to sort of momentum shares as well. So, if you're, and just counting as well, like you count how many days up, if you rally, say 4 days or 7 days or 10 days, and then it goes sideways for the same amount of time and it hasn't come back. It's really just, and there hasn't been a lot of volume in it. Leaves it in a pretty strong position there. So I know McLaren was a big one for counting days up and down. So, not that it's a great example there, but Domino's was a classic example here just recently. I'm just going to zoom in here just so I can make it a little bit easier to look at there. But we see off this exhaustive low, which was actually a false break, went to a marginal new low there. It had 1, 2, 3 days up here, Chris. I'm pretty good volume. And then it went 1, 2, 3 days. Look at the volume in there. Just
low volume, and it's
yeah,
barely more than that last day
yeah.
in the
And
rally.
then you're just looking for this to sort of break out and turn up here, and then you just just that measured move there. It's just so we're just looking for that sort of that tighter sort of setup there. So that's sort of something McLaren we talk about all the time there. It's just he'd be counting days up here. So this is rally 1, 2, 3. We want to see this go 1, 2, 3 days and then start to turn up here. And that would be your stop under there. You shouldn't sort of see that down there. So oftentimes what McLaren looked at the time there, it'll be either 1 for 1. So it'll be 3 days up, 3 days sideways, or it can be 2 for 1. So it'll be often up 3 and might go sideways for 6 and then go up there. So
You create your bull flags, right?
yeah. So they often sort of go 1 for 1. Or, so if you see that 1 for 1 set up, so I remember CSL there going off the might have been a low from 10 years ago when it was at $4. I think it rallied like 11 days and it pulled back 11 days and it rallied 12 days and then pulled back 12 days and then rallied 9 days and then pulled back 9 days. It was just in harmony the whole way. So just that's something just to keep an eye on there. It definitely see that it's set up quite a bit there.
Did you just say, you're talking about trading CSL at $4?
Yeah, yes.
Well, you're
Oh, probably sort of looking through some slides the other day on sort of the timing sort of setup. So it was just something that grabbed at me. But
it was a good example, and it's they made your history.
yeah. But I noticed like something like ANZ used to sort of rally 3 weeks and pull back 3 weeks, or rally 6 weeks and pull back 6, or go 3 and pull back 6. It just that would happen over and over again. So but number 25 on this was FCL. Phineas Corpus, that's had a really impulsive move here. So still goes on the radar a bit, Chris. The only problem with this one is it has had, sounds funny here, but it's had too big a move almost. I know it can actually tighten up here and then go again. But you prefer to sort of see that bull flag like that, have that really sharp move up. Yeah, because then you sort of look at that, that's sort of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, say 7 days there. And then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've really inside days after the 7, really. And then it pops again as well. And that's sort of in that sort of same amount of, same sort of length as well. So is that a pretty big move? I'm not sure this can have the same type of move up here, but we're in a pretty bullish market here. So maybe, but I just think for this stock here, looks like it might be too big, but if we're in doubt there, we want to probably go and look at the time frame, and the time frame is pretty solid there because that's a pretty corrective trend here, pretty good volume behind it. So yeah, can't rule that one out there. So definitely leaves in a pretty strong position there. So one to keep an eye on. Thought I'd just touch on one that's not on the list, but probably I think it's just outside of the 30 there. But
and it's definitely been. This we were talking about before. You covered this in great detail in the model book. We'll put a link on screen for that one. But to walk us through what's happened since.
Well, look, it's been pretty strong here the whole way here. But yeah, look at that stock there, Chris. It's come from 120 in August to what hit 260 there. So that's that's an out and out leader there. That's going crazy here. The thing this stock's starting to scare me a little bit. Not so much that it's. If you're long the stock, you wouldn't be scared. You'd be, doing high sorries. Yeah. But Clara talks about sort of 3 ascending trend lines, and the Dow Jones, I highlighted this probably a month ago, is that the Dow Jones have now made its 3rd ascending trend line. That was started to, that's when it can really, accelerate and get vertical and go up in. So PME is, I haven't got it here, but on my other trading system there, you can there's basically 3 ascending trend lines. So there's now a 4th one there. So this thing is actually winding up. So McLaren would refer to that as a blow off trend. So when you've got 3 ascending trend lines on the weekly, that things can really wind up. That's when it can get really super aggressive, which it has done. So I think might have been 4 or 5 weeks ago. So there was a little 1 week pause there, and it's just come out that wow, this thing's just, it's in that acceleration phase there. So it can really get going here. That I don't want to sort of scare it on here, but what McLaren would sort of say is when these vertical trends there is that when this trend's done, it'll often come back to the point where the last acceleration took off, which I'm looking at the weekly here. Looks like the 120 zone. There's one little zone in here, one little, consolidation there, say 183. But this, when this trend's finished, there's a high probability that it'll come back to 120. It sounds crazy, but that's basically sort of what these stocks do. I mean, we know that, the 50-80 rule as well, momentum base as well. So, if we're talking 250, 260, that's 125. That's around that mark here. So, but yes, this has had a fair move here. I mean, look, it'd still stay along the position if you're still long there, but that bar there should have you a little bit concerned because not from the fact that you're
risking a lot of money.
You just made a lot of money one day. Is that that's how they sort of trends really, really accelerate pop, and then they'll pop into that top, So that wide range exhaustive bar. The only thing I didn't see there with that bar, Chris, is the volume. So normally,
this is the anomaly, right?
Yeah. So normally when you see a volume bar, like a price bar like that, I mean, that's gone through, they should have gone through layers and layers of stock here, but it does prove one point here is that stocks that have been trending up, we get a lot of requests, Paradigm, there's a lot of stocks, Novonics, and there's so many stocks that people request that we're asking to look at where there's been 2 or 3 years of actually losers and losers there. You're fighting the tape here. When there's nothing in front of you, you're not fighting people who are already losing positions to the last, 2 years.
You're all you're all sitting on profits.
You're all sitting on profits. You're not basically fighting, and that's why sometimes these stocks that have got momentum already and going to new highs, they just keep going because no one is sort of sold up here. So, each day the stock's making new highs, but there's no one who's sold it higher than that. So they're all winning. Each day it sort of goes up there. There's some stage, obviously, things change here, but it will move more freely. But that bar there should be a little bit of a concern there, just the size of it. But
the lack of volume.
But the lack of volume tells you that that hasn't been hit with any sellers yet either. So no one's sort of coming to sell this. So at some point there, some big selling will come into this, and it will be probably obvious. You'll see it move down here, and you'll see the volume there. But
you talk about distribution days last week as well.
Yeah.
Look for those.
Well, that's like Wyckoff, because that's you're talking. I mean, the average range on this stock here is what 227, 230. That's like $6 there, maybe maybe $6 an hour. So probably the average range is like $6 a day. That's a pretty big moving stock already. So it's like 3% a day is the ATR probably. So this is what 230, 250, 80 is. That's at a $28 range in one day.
And it's the same sort of volume as the 3 days prior.
So you're talking about 5 or 6 times the average true range there. So on it, so that's big. Yeah. So that should, that should have you tightened right up here now. But I mean, look, if I was long this there, I'd probably be still using the 10. I mean, I probably would have sold by now. So you can't. But a day like that, if I'd had the kahunas to stay with this, a day like that would have me sell. That's a day that I know David Ryan would be selling some. Yeah. So he may not sell a lot of it, but he might sell a quarter, he might sell an eighth, but he would sell some into a day like that.
Just that don't happen often.
Yeah. I was talking to Trey the other day about bulk on there because I got sort of chopped out of this one on the break here. But I know a couple other traders were long this there. You see that day that went into the high there. You see the volume on that day. was one of the biggest volume days here. So that can stop the stock, so it may just be like a release there so it may not be the top, but that can just sort of stop the trend. When you see that really, it winds up, gets a bit vertical, and you see that really heavy volume bar, that's a bit exhaustive there. That's the days that the pros will be selling some into that type of day. But may not be selling more because we know these. We've seen some of these names here. They just keep going here, but they will have a pause there. So what they might do is they might sell, a quarter or an eighth to something small into that heat. And then they'll hope it maybe comes back to the 10 or the 20 and they'll put it back on again. So they're looking for that sort of pause or sideways or looking for a consolidation. It's like these days here, you're looking for it to sort of come back here and consolidate back here. So, so don't be afraid to take some off there. I guess, I know it's like some of the best traders there have got the ability to hang on. So, that's one thing I'm sort of still working on personally. I'm a little bit more active. I might be a bit more fluent in the market. But,
well, as you've talked about the 58 Real Pro Medicus, and if anyone's wondering about seeing that before, look back at the videos of Drone Shield around July. If you put that chart on screen just for a second, please, Gary, the daily over a year, you'll see. And then that's where Gary really started talking about it when it fell back to about 210, 180, 190. He was putting out there, well, actually, we can come back to that ascending trend line. It started at about 90 cents. So that's how hard it could fall. And it did.
Yeah. So you feel like that's probably the last acceleration point there, but this is really where the last acceleration point started from. So with PME, you can probably say there's one in the middle there, maybe 180 there, but really that's where it should come back to. And it's, to be honest with you, if you look at that point there, the stocks that get vertical, I say, if we go back in history, I don't think I've seen many not come back there. That's the reality there. So that's the thing with PME. So if you're in that trade, then mate, kudos to you. But just that's what does happen typically. Trends when they get vertical like that and go up aggressive, they can come back to that point there.
And I know you've got Spartan now, which is in the launch pad. Possibly before we get to the launch pad, we did have a heap of requests, so we might just tick through them pretty quickly.
Yeah.
SPZ on the momentum.
SPZ. Smart parking. Yeah. Still looks okay there. It's pretty lightly traded, this one here. The volumes are pretty light through here. I guess the best thing here, impulsive, sideways, and then pretty light volume in there, and then it's had an impulsive there. This so far is not a lot of selling in here so far. Still staying pretty tight there, so it's still okay position there. It might use a bit more time here, this one now. Sort of, sometimes they won't all be, like Elliott wave there, Chris. It won't, each wave and pullback will be alternate, so they won't look exactly the same. So this shouldn't do exactly like this. Maybe it'll do something a little bit different. So, but yeah, it still looks okay there. I guess the good traded one. The good news, it is thinly traded there, but we're not seeing any aggressive selling here. That's probably the plus there. It'd be nice to sort of see this use up a bit more time, maybe come back to the 20 over more time. It would be nice. Yeah.
And GTK is another one on the list.
GTK, yeah. So this, I didn't see it. I had it on the other list there, actually. So it was on the
list. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it was on the launch pad there. So it was an episodic pivot, actually, Chris. So I know a couple of traders there who follow us there. I know that one guy traded this pretty well here during the week. So yeah, got the good news there. Stock's obviously been in a leader all the time there. I think the last EP was pretty good as well. So it gapped up and ran there. Sort of did have a little bit of a pullback there. This one didn't look back at all. It's fun. I think I looked at the opening bar was about 3,300 shares there, Chris. So it wasn't like didn't open up a massive volume there. But it just goes to show, some of these stocks are a little thin, but gee, they can move as well. When they've been running, again, at no sellers in front here, no losers in the way, they can really move pretty freely. So yeah, good little trade there, that one. So
and you're right, that is in the launch pad, not the momentum. So I'm just trying to run through the other names that were in the request on the launch pad. So PDH points bet.
What's that? Yeah, had a pretty good run. If you guys still think there's still further run here, I'd be a little bit. I couldn't enter here. I'd have to wait for a little pause, a little tighten up here, something like that. So, yeah. I mean, look, if you're long here, it hasn't broken the 10 here yet, so it's still been hugging the 10, Chris. So it still looks pretty strong here. So if you're long there, you'll be sort of staying with it, Me personally, I've been trying to sell some into the heat or some of these big wide range days there, try and sell some into that, and then just backstop the rest. And then just keep trailing it. Hopefully it just keeps going. Hopefully it does a DEA where it just keeps running. It goes a lot further than you anticipated. So maybe PBH there can go a lot further than anyone anticipates. But yeah, that's the thing about momentum there, is that you're sort of, the pros will take some off, and then they'll keep the position on, and they'll just keep trailing it here. Hopefully this thing will just keep running. Because we're seeing here with some of these momentum-based stocks here that, like not all of them, maybe not half of them, but a lot of them, maybe 20 to 40% of them will run a lot further than maybe a lot of people think. So you don't know how far this is going to run when you're in these things as well. So once you get these VCPs tighten up and the leaders and strong volume there, you don't know how far they're going to run. So all you can control is what you do next. So as the good traders say, so you have a process that you follow, and you're sort of got to try and capture some of that. So, if you do manage to sort of scale up and get a decent sized posse on in that really tight area, then, you get the pot, then you want to sort of de-risk the trade just in case something goes wrong. So you take a little bit off, you lock in some little bit of profits there, then you backstop your trailing position there, and then you just let it run, and you don't know. You just hope this thing can keep running. You don't know how far it's going to run. And then what you're looking for there, maybe you're looking for that sort of distribution type, pop aggressive day. Maybe that's another day to take another quarter off. And then the other half or other quarter, whatever it is, you just trail it there running, using a stop there.
So good insights on that. A couple more quickly on the momentum. BNZ, Bravo, November, Zulu, Ben's Mining.
Yeah, just a bit choppy there, but yeah, hard to trade there for me. Maybe too small for me, but volume's okay here. Just does worry me how much it overlaid there. It did pull back, and they're pretty deep, and we're back up again. Yeah, just a bit too hard here for me. Yeah.
And IR1, Indigo Romeo 1.
Yeah, I did see this actually. I thought this looked right. I don't know what actually I did actually write down a VCP here because it had that little run there. Then the whole thing's tightened up in here, and another little VCP in here, Chris, as well. So if we drill it in there, yeah, so it looked like a VCP in there, but then it obviously had must have been a trading sort of stop there, had a bit of a jump, come back in there, but the whole thing did tighten up again, then tighten in here, and then once it's gone through, it's okay here, but still pretty small, bit loose there. I saw another one that looked exactly like that actually. Of that VIT, almost exactly the same here. So I'll just drill that a bit as well. But yeah, again, it had that bit of a run there. Whole thing tightened up here. Interesting one as well.
And then there's IPX, and then the last two in that list as well.
IPX. Yeah. Look, getting,
I'm looking at the gap up in mid-November there, 2 days up massively, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days down. Didn't get the whole way, but it's quite erratic, those moves. It's overlapping, isn't it? Sort of not sitting on top of it.
Yeah, I guess the plus in there, well, like it didn't quite sit on top of the high there. But you didn't see it, the volume wasn't too bad, and he wasn't overly heavy. And then it sort of come out of here. So this was a good day to sort of follow here. And then it helps you run again. So just got to watch and see. It looks like it's in a bit of a pause at the moment there. So yeah, no volume here. So probably just want to see, you'd like to see another pause here again. Use up a bit of time here. So good news there is not too much selling here, but we're still pretty early, really. That's a little high there. We really only had 2 days here to hard to judge here at the moment. So
EIQ and TTT right at the end, 29th and 30th on the list.
EIQ, volume a bit light for me. Still a bit of a small name for me. Looks okay, but yeah, too hard to trade.
Under 30 cents, under 50 cents. Those price steps are pretty big percentage movements.
Yeah, just the volume's a bit small. It looks okay. It's obviously sitting on top of the previous high, so that's positive, but too small for me. What was the last one, Chris?
Triple T.
Triple T. Yeah, it's holding there. I'd probably I did see this one there. I'd probably like to sort of see it sort of sit on top of this high here, really. Yeah, look at the volume's been pretty light here. I guess that there was a bit of selling in that first leg down. Volume did come in here. Volume a bit light on this second leg. That's okay. That still leaves an okay position there. Might have been one that was I thought this was sort of interesting as well. TTM, might be on the second list there. I thought this was more interesting there, just because it has come back to the trend there. But held the low in place. So if you look at the longer term picture there, it'll still basically be holding the trend in place. There's some chunky volume in there, which is pretty interesting there, and it's still held here. So it still leaves it in an okay position there to sort of build from. So I thought that looked a little bit better than the triple T. Just a bit messy, that triple T there. So yeah, just in a bit of a pause mode at the moment here. So just might need a bit more time there. It'd be nice to sort of see that have had a bit of a longer pause.
Right. Well, I know the question at the end is when to be a momentum trader, but you've kind of covered a fair bit of that. So normally at this point we ask what themes we see in the launch pad, but as we've just been through those momentums, you've pulled out a fair few of the previous leaders. You've compared Drone Shield to what we're seeing is the blow off tops, PME, that kind of thing. So when to be a momentum trader, you've shown us that there are consistently momentum leaders. They break out, they run hard. You've shown us what episodic pivots are. You've told us how to sell into heat. You've told us how to take the opportunity, where to look for anomalies. So there's a lot happening in momentum trading and what to make the most of. But is there a time where you trade momentum and then other times you trade counter-cyclical or portfolio trades? How do you view momentum trading and when to do it?
Yeah, it's hard to be both there, Chris. I think that's the reality. Is that, and I think I did try initially to sort of like be a bit more portfolio oriented on one account and then be a bit more active on the other account. So be more momentum based on my PA, and then maybe be a bit more conservative or investor on your. I think it becomes too hard to sort of have two different types of rules there. I think I think what you could do there is what would be easy would be just a momentum based trader there, but maybe if you're going to have a more conservative approach on a different account, so just maybe sound like a super fund there. Maybe you just sort of stick to the top 200. Maybe the bigger cat names, and maybe in your personal momentum, maybe you'll take some of those smaller names as well. But I think it's too hard there. I think it's difficult to sort of have different rules for different accounts. So I have tried that. In the end, I think it's just easier just to have the parameters there, but maybe just sort of keep to the. I'll just say that maybe I must do the fund, just stick to the larger names there. So maybe the stocks in the top 300 there, and then in my personal name, if I'm going to be a bit more momentum oriented there, just trade some of the smaller ones. But I think it's difficult, not to trade different parameters different ways and stuff there. So I mean, trading is difficult enough as it is.
Splitting your focus.
Yeah, we can get distracted there, and then if you're entertaining two different types of trading and stuff, then it just opens you up to, like the one thing we've sort of learned here from the best traders going around is that there's a clear focus and there's a narrowness to the focus as well. So pick your lane, focus on your lane, become the master of that lane, and that's how you get you get better. So whether you're just trading 0, 1, 2, 3 patterns there, like what one guy was, he was getting over 40% every year, or tipping a Minavini who's just doing the VCPs only, he's getting 3 figures every year. You want to be good, be really good. You have to narrow the focus there. I don't think you can sort of operate on different levels there, personally. I think it becomes too hard. It can be done, but I think if you try and spread yourself too thin in different areas, you're not going to be the best in each area. I think just pick a lane or pick maybe 2 lanes to sort of stay in, and become really good at those sort of narrow lanes there. Just don't sort of, just keep it narrow, I think is the key that have been good.
So I'll echo with what both of us occupational hazard is working in stockbroking. You consistently have clients running different types of portfolios. You've got to be across all the different types of trading, understand the strategies, understand fundamental analysis of what they're applying, and then how to have that conversation, how to manage their portfolio. And I know towards the end of running client portfolios, I would run sort of my super account in the long-term portfolio. I'd book that in with all the other clients, and I'd do quarterly reviews of clients with long-term portfolios. We just make sure they're still on path. And I bundle my super fund in there as well. I go, okay, well, these are the long-term paths. I want to check in on that once a quarter.
Yeah.
That's kind of enough. In between that, it was always momentum trading, and that's the focus. But when you try and manage those long-term portfolios at the same time, interspersed with, okay, I'm only going to trade top right, top half, I'm looking for the market leaders. At the same time, in the same day, you're trying to find value of fundamentals. That really is that split focus that you're talking about, which doesn't actually lead to makes it.
Yeah. I think you're right, Chris. If you are going to try and attempt it, then I think actually having 2 different accounts, so clear sort of mandates each account as well. So I have sort of tried to do that there, but I found that they've sort of become similar, but maybe with their own sort of slight change now, sort of. And so like I tried doing 2 different type of accounts, one account. They just came too far apart, and I found myself sort of swinging back and forth there. So, I think it can be done. I think I definitely wouldn't recommend trying to operate 2 different titles on the same account there. I think I'd break it up if I wanted to sort of try a couple of different methods. And it's a good way to test as well. If if you did sort of say, okay, I'm going to trade VCPs, I'm going to trade something else, I might do them all in one account and do them on another account, and then you're sort of hopefully narrows your focus and focus on those accounts there. But it comes to, if you're looking for sort of 5 or 6 or different types of trades and stuff there, it becomes harder there. Whereas if you're looking for the same types of things, it does narrow your focus a bit more. And like the one thing I've really sort of shifted there in the last probably quarter or 2 is trading in the top half. That's that's just my trying to have that mentality there now. Is just to be trading the strongest names there. So I want to see a sign of strength there. They really should be in the top half here. So even I used to look at the false breaks there, sort of down in the lows, but now I'm just staying away from the bottom dwellers. I'm really trying to sort of look for those strongest names there that have a bit of a pause, more of a bit of a sideways range in the top half of the chart, and have a bit of a undercut and then a go there, because they're the strongest names there. So I'm looking for sort of the leaders, stocks of relative strength, and either breaking that B way, staying in the top half, or a BCP, or something like that. So just it's funny how they're strong. But I mean, you can see it here. It's been, if you've been following this channel for a couple of years there, you're seeing that some of these strongest stocks have just been so strong for so long. It's unbelievable. So
you cover a few of them today.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they've just kept going, and then you've thought many times before, and even myself, there, my own bias of thinking, that looks like it's exhausted at a top there. It'll have a pullback, but then it's set up and gone again here. So, I remember there was a trader there a couple of weeks on one of the podcasts there. I think he only traded 15 stocks in 1 year. So if you were just trading the top, you were trading those 15 in the bottom books, you will be in the right 15. You've seen there they've set up over and over again. So even the strongest names here, like we've showed some of the strongest names there, even like sort of Sigma and Catapult. When Catapult's had a lot of pauses as well. PME's had a few pauses. Newix had a few pauses as well. Spartan's had a few pauses as well.
Drone, Gentrack.
Yeah, and eventually they get a bit of the concern is that they get too aggressive and get too vertical, then that's got to come back, So that's the sort of thing now. I think we saw there in the video recently starting to get a bit vertical. Some of those names, when they get too far away from the moving averages and get a bit, when you see those wide ranges there, that's what you probably got to be careful of. So, but you can see they just keep setting up over and over again. So, yeah.
Well, you talked about leading themes in the top portion of the company. We know that that's the momentum leaders that you've just covered. We'll have a look at the Launchpad. We know there were not as many requests in that one, and you said it was rather thin. Very quickly, we know we look at the numbers and we extended. So the 30-30 list is what we look at and the members get every week. Gary also gets another list, which actually summarizes what's in the top 200. We saw in the momentum companies outside of the top 30, there were a lot of financials, 70 in fact, which is pretty strong. And then we had outside of the top 30 of the Launchpad, there was a bit of property, but not too much showing in the 30 that we've got here. So I've already robbed 2 names of the top 30 list already, Gary. So I've cut it a bit short with you stealing 2 names. But what else came out and popped out to you in this week's Launchpad?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a mixed bag there, the Launchpad there. Covered a field now. Obviously, number 5 there, so the Spartan had a bit of a bounce there, but the volume's light there. Just concern for me here is with these goals is most of them have actually overbalanced. So they've actually had a fairly large correction and now sort of bouncing back here. So I think a lot of them now have sort of gotten back just above the 50. But it's just that they're a little loose there, Chris, as well. So we know when those strong trends are, like if you look at to the Catapult, which has been running up there, see how tight every correction was. There's not a looseness or a volatility in that. You don't sort of see that. Even FKS there recently as well, sort of, even this, I mean, they had a decent pullback there, but then it bounced again and the whole thing tightened up, sort of gone there. There's just not a looseness in that. So with the Spartan there, you've got that overbalance there. They're starting to get a bit loose now. Even like the Northern Stars are one of the biggest stocks there. So it's just getting a little loose there, a little volatile. That's just that loose activity, that volatility there. It's sort of, but they say volatility comes in 1 of 2 places there. So near the lows and near the highs. So if you're seeing that increase in volatility, that should be a little bit of a concern. We want to see it tighter. As Kalamagi says, loose is for losers and tight is for winners. So we don't want to be seeing this sort of loose sort of volatility pattern there. So that's the concern with that one there. Those 2 EPs, we talked about EML, had that gap up in good news and has sort of continued to run. DGL was this thing's tightening up here. It's still sitting on top of this previous high there. So it's kind of constructive there. Just taking a while to get going here, Chris. That's the only thing now. Sort of like this looked pretty good here initially. Now sort of taking too much time here. I think saw something like 4DX as well. I thought recently had an impulsive move and it pulled back. It looked pretty good there, coming back to the 50, but then it's taken too much time to get going and it just never got going here. So that's a concern with DGL now is it looked pretty good, a little bit tight here. Takes too much time. So that's the only concern. I think TTM looked okay. That still looks pretty constructive to me. Domino is pretty interesting. We've just got a bit of a false break on there, bit of volume coming out of that. So sort of one that I'll keep an eye on here, actually. I think most of the brokers have sort of got some fairly positive forecasts on this one longer term. So we saw, I think it was CKF, kind of
Bonds.
KFC sort of, Collins Foods had a bit of a jump and then sort of stayed pretty tight as well. So, I mean, I think inflationary pressures continue to persist, then maybe the KFC and the $5.95 pizza will bear fruit.
It's a frame.
I'm not sure, but yeah, they could well do. What else we got there? Sort of ABB was actually had a bit of a pop here, so that's interesting. It's still got a series of low highs here yet, but has been a strong stock here. Has had a good run there, so it's going through a bit of a pause. Still staying pretty tight here. The thing I did like in here, I didn't see too much. It wasn't too much. There's a little bit of selling here, but not too much selling here. So I thought this was just one to keep an eye on, put on the radar. I thought it was a pretty good update. And yeah, I think this was the day it sort of reported, did have a gap up and then came back and then run again. So I think the fundamentals are pretty strong there. Just want to see this maybe use up a bit more time, consolidate there, but it's definitely one on the radar there. Maybe in a few weeks or a month's time there, we might get a more tighter consolidation, a bit of a B-wave. But I thought that was actually interesting. Main farmers and another one. It's a little too loose here, Chris. It's all a little bit over the shop here. So again, this looked like a nice VCP in here. Didn't get going. It tried to rally a few times and couldn't. Then it's had a false break, and then the whole thing's now expanded. So it's actually getting looser rather than narrow. So yeah, not a bit of an avoid for me. SNL did undercut the 50 there, but no selling, no volume there. Has had a bit of a rally there, but and still pretty thin as well. So still looks in a still pretty strong position there, but a little bit hard to trade. SMR, there was a VCP on this one, Chris. Did to the whole thing tighten up here. Had a bit of a push through here. Did break through, but hasn't really got going there. Is kind of fighting this is the sector where I think, seeing a few things here recently, a few sort of setups there. But then when I look through all the names in the sector and they're all breaking down, that usually gives me not much confidence that they're going to kick on. So a few that I've seen set up and fail, when I look through the sector's all weak. So that's the thing you got to weigh up there. So I think if you sort of see a really good setup, VCP, even the price setup there, quickly go through, probably if you've been it long enough, like so, you probably think, okay, what are the top 5 or 6 names in that sector? Bang, 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 and they go, gee, they're all going down. That's not what you want to see. So, that almost puts a line down for me, because I want to see the sector showing a bit of strength or at least building a base, and maybe this is the one that's going to lead the rest of them out. But if all the rest of them are breaking down that sector, and you're one setting up here, yeah, it's not a good start here. It's not a good probably. You want to sort of see strength in the sector there.
Absolutely. One for you to say.
Yeah. Oh, look, I've learned that the hard way here. But like now, I just know that saved me from a lot of trades here in the last probably 2 or 3 months from entering bad trades here. I've just avoided the weak sectors, and I look back a week later, and sure enough, that setup is actually broken down there. So it's been a really good setup for me. GTK has been obviously, that's another EP there, gapped up and then run there. So again, it's been a leader all the way through there. I think that sector is pretty strong, pretty robust as well. So nothing wrong with that. I think the last one on the list there I thought was interesting. There was AIZ there.
Oh, so you put this in the list. I heard that rate decision during the week, and some of the Gary's on.
I saw the Kiwi stocks there, so we saw Air New Zealand pop out of the range there. Sparks do come back and retest the low there. I still think this one's interesting there. Fletcher's had a bit of a jump, and then that's things sort of tightening up as well, above the 50. So like a lot of the Kiwi stocks are pretty interesting. The Kiwis have just had another 50 basis point cut here. And so that's 125 points there in the last, 2.5 months. So that's going to push some money back in
Someone's pocket.
some Kiwis' pockets there, sort of money to be spent. And so the market will look, even though you won't see any positive economic data here yet, the market will look forward there and think that, this should see some improvement there. But I thought Air New Zealand looked pretty interesting, just because there was a bit of chunky volume coming out of this one here. Did give it a bit of an update the other day as well. So, probably I didn't think it was the best update, but I think the market's probably was pricing in maybe worse. So, so this looks okay as well, but not the fastest moving stock here. I wouldn't say it's a momentum stock there, but yeah, just interesting sector there. Some of those the yellow stocks there. That's about it, Chris.
Right. Well, we did have some requests. AIZ was one of them. Two names that we do have seen many times before. BBN, Big Bunting, BBN, ranked number 12 on the launchpad after 11 that we covered with Titan Men.
It was pretty strong there, but the whole thing, again, we've just overbalanced there as well. So pulled back below the 50 there. I mean, impulsive sort of corrective, impulsive corrective, and then tipped over there. So that's not what you want to sort of see there.
And then down in 26 was Beam Tree, BNT, Bravo, Mike, Tango.
Yeah, it looks okay. Just a little thin there. Pretty messy sort of trend as well. So pretty gappy sort of stock here. Exactly the type of stock that I tend to avoid.
And one A2 Milk, that one does have volume. So
yeah, I didn't notice it had a little bit of a gap up there. Still a pretty strong downtrend here. Just goes to show you. I mean, look, people think those gaps get filled pretty quickly. They don't, not often there. Like a lot of stocks can just sort of gap and run here. So we're seeing this sort of gap down and run, and gap up and run. And so, so it looks okay here. It just hasn't sort of gone on with that sort of thing, that gap up there. That's all. So probably just because it has been in a bit of a downtrend as well. So
all those sellers lined up like you've been talking about.
Yeah. It looks okay, but it's if you look at that that EP classification there, this looks more like more like probably not the chicken, the negative, probably more looks like the duck, which is probably more the flat line sort of
Okay.
Doesn't have that sort of swan appearance there where you sort of go up impulsively, sort of move easily on good volume. So so it might just mean it just might go sideways here for a while.
Nice. And the last one, actually ranked number 3, SDV, Sierra Delta Victor.
Again, it was a pretty strong trend there, but end tipped over. The thing you saw there was actually, you did see a bit of volume on that tip over as well there, Chris, as well. So you can see that, you can see the volume there. I think a bit of a line through here, and then we saw some volume all the way down through here as well. Has had a bit of the volume's come back here, but we know in that overbalance, sometimes they can just come back and retest trend here. So I think this needs to use up more time here. I mean, if this is going to build again, it'll probably need to do it's tipped over. It'll need to recover like this and then smooth out. It'll really need to tighten up here. So, you want to sort of see if this is going to sort of continue to go higher. It'll probably need to, go through like a good month, 2 weeks or 6 weeks sort of tightening, sort of corrective pattern. Just a building pattern now, so that you'll get used to that. If you keep looking through those strongest names, you'll keep seeing the same type of look and setups there, and you'll get sort of, And again, we just want to, all we want to do is we don't want to have these loose setups there. We want to have the tight setup. So we want to see strength. Then we want to see a pause. We want to see it tighten up. That's the easy picking there. So, when they're too erratic and they're moving up and down big like this, it's loose formations there. I mean, like, where do you put the question is like, where do you put your stop out? On a setup like that. You could pull back. You could come back half that range and still set up here. So it's, you want safe entries. That's the key. So
that is key. And
just remember, cash is a position. So, they're not losing money if you're sitting in cash. And it's many easy decisions, sort of laying that, you're letting everyone else lose money and lay the foundation for you to sort of set up a good trade so you can make money. So, sitting in cash sometimes and sitting in lots of cash is actually not a bad place to be. The market's getting a little loose.
Especially with Minivini says he likes to be invested for the least amount of time, and he does get triple digits consistently. So works for him.
Yeah.
Now, that does round out the Launchpad. Anyone who's still watching, we really want some feedback. We've covered a lot of different topics. So let us know what you like the most. Is it just sticking to the momentum companies and the Launchpad leaders in the list? Is it the requests that the members get? Or is it the more insightful things where Gary shares things about when to be a momentum trader and how he splits his portfolio, how to take on trades, how to sell into heat? So comment below, let us know what you like the most, because you've watched till the end. You're our favorite viewers. So thanks very much. And we say thank you, Gary Glover from Novus Capital.
Thanks, Chris.